Very good morning. Today, again, we have the three topic: time of supply, exemption, and the value. So first we will cover time, then value, and in the last we will cover the exemptions. So time of supply is divided in three parts. Why we determining the time of supply? So that we can ascertain what is the time of payment of GST liability. So accordingly, we can ascertain the due date, and if we are paying the tax late, then we can deposit the interest also. We have to deposit the interest also. Time of supply can be divided in three parts: goods covered in section 12, services covered in section 13, and time of supply in case of change in the rate of the taxes covered in the section 14. Let me start with the section 12. Time of supply for the goods. So 12 subsection 2 talks about time of supply of the goods in case of the forward charge. Time of supply of the goods in case of the forward charge. It will be earliest of below 3. It will be earliest of below 3. Correct. What are the 3? So to remember, I am using the 3. Date of issue of the invoice by the supplier. This is 1. Okay. Or the last date to issue the invoice under section 31. Second. And third is the date on which the payment is received with respect to supply. Saminathan, can you tell me that in the current date, do we need to pay the GST on advance for supply of the goods? Do I need to pay the GST on advance for supply of the goods I'm talking about? Gita, to you as well. Do I need to pay the GST on advance for the supply of the goods? The answer is no. Answer is no. Initially, it was applicable, but later on, they have given the relaxation partly in October and partly November 2017. But one point you should remember, now they have bring the GST on advance for supply of the goods only for some cases. What is the cases that let me discuss with this? So if you are registered under composition levy, then there is no relaxation. You need to pay the GST on advance. Second, if it is online money gaming, if it is online money gaming, then in that case you need to pay the GST on advance. You remember in the last class, we have discussed the actionable claim is goods or service. Actionable claim क्या है? Goods है, service है. Correct. Goods. So in case of the online money gaming, we need to pay the GST on advance. Remember, always remember this point. That's it. Okay. Now, if the amount is in excess of rupees 1,000, then you need to pay the GST. But if it is 1,000, then you can roll over to the next supply. You might say, sir, what is the relevance of this provision when there is no GST on advance for supply of the goods? This proviso was since beginning. So they have not omitted. Had it been back this provision, let's say that they will say that yes, we will roll out the GST on advance for supply of the goods. In that case, this proviso will help. And again, in case of the composition, it is helping. And second, in case of the online money gaming, it is helping. Now, this explanation is important for the purpose of the clause A and the clause B. Supply shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice. Why it is important? Now, when you read the section 31, time of supply, last date to issue the tax invoice, then you will find there is a word on or before. On or before. So question comes, can we make the invoice in 2-3, let's say my supply of the goods happening in 1st March. Can I make the invoice on today for supply of the goods? Answer is yes. There is no problem because section 31 says on or before. So last date is 1st March, the date when I am removing the goods. But yes, if I like to make the invoice before the last date, I can make. It says that it shall be deemed to have been made. So if the invoice has been issued, it is assumed that you have made the supply to that extent. This question might come when we talked about ITC. So it will be covered by another faculties. But yes, if it is ITC, then question comes, supply of the goods or goods has been received, and then whether it has been treated as supply only in advance, then it says that to the extent it has been covered by the invoice, it shall be deemed that supply has been made. Next, for the purpose of the clause B, the date on which the supplier received the payment shall be the date on which the payment is entered in the books or the date on which payment is credited in the bank, whichever is earlier. Again, I can say not too much relevance here, but yes, this clause would be helpful in case of services, helpful in case of change in the rate of the taxes also. So the date on which supplier received the payment, it will be earlier of below 2. What is the below 2? Earlier of below 2. What is the 2? The date on which payment is entered in the books and the date on which payment is credited in the bank. Whichever is earlier. Fine. So we were talking about forward charge. Now we will talk about RCM. Can you give me any one example of the goods on which RCM is applicable? हमने लास्ट क्लास में बात किया था. Can you give me any one example of the goods on which RCM is applicable? Any one example? Absolutely correct, Saminathan, Geeta. Tend to leave, scrap, agriculture, silk yarn. Absolutely correct. Cashew nuts, BD wrapper. Yes, yes, yes. So what is the time of supply? So whether, just confirm one thing, I have purchased the scrap from the government, I need to require to pay the GST. That is agreed under RCM. But suppose I have given the advance in the today date and I am purchasing in the next month, 6th Feb, I have given the advance. Do I need to pay the GST on the advance under RCM? Do I need to pay the GST on advance under RCM? Absolutely correct, Geeta. The relaxation is only for the forward charge. The GST not payable for goods advance is only for the forward charge, not for the reverse charge. Considering that, if it is an RCM, there is no relaxation. You need to pay the GST if you have given only advance. So, what is the time of supply in case of RCM? First is date of receipt of goods. Second is date of payment. And third is immediately following 30 days. Immediately following 30 days. So if I have invoice of 1st January, then can you tell me what would be the date for the clause C? मेरे पास invoice है 1 जनवरी का. Then what would be the date according to the clause C? Will it be 31st Jan or will it be 1st Feb? So इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Immediately following 30 days. So I will add 30 days. What will come? It will come 31st. Then what is the word? What is the word? Following. Let's take an example. We'll do one example also. ठीक है. So it says that the date of the receipt of the goods, date of the payment, and payment will be debited this time or will be credited this time. Because we are talking about RCM, so we will talk about when it has been debited or entered in the books, whichever is earlier. ठीक है. So regarding this clause C, we will do one example. Provided that where it is not possible to determine the time of supply under A or B or C, then the time of supply shall be the date of entry in the books of the recipient. ठीक है. Let me go down and do one example for clause C. We'll come back. B. Sell the goods on the 4th Jan. Goods are taxable under RCM. Invoice for the same is made on 4th Jan. C. Receive the goods 6th July. C. Limited record the payment in 21st July and the same has been debited from the bank account on 31st July. Time of supply of the goods is earliest of 3 stipulated date. So they have not specified the date, but again, they have not given. So I only like to highlight that because they have written the word 30th following the 30th days, so we will always add 31st day from the date of invoice. So it means if the invoice is first, I will add 30, it comes 31st, and then I will say following 31st. What will be the following 31st means first Feb. Is it clear? Is that clear? Okay. Now, time limit to issue the tax invoice for goods. Let's read that also. So as per 31 subsection 1, invoice has to be issued either before or at the time of the removal of the goods. ठीक है. In case it is a continuous supply of the goods, the invoice should be issued before or at the time of issuance of periodical statement or receipt of periodical payment. Continuous supply of goods means which has been agreed on a continuous basis or recurring basis under a contract for which supplier issue an invoice on a regular or periodical basis and include the supply of the goods as the government may subject to the condition as may be notified. Yes, it will be discussed in detail in the chapter 9. ठीक है. Let's come back. So Now, in case of the supply of the voucher, the time of supply shall be the date of issue of the voucher if the supply is identifiable the date of the redemption in all other cases. Now, very, very important to know, that this clause has been omitted. Now, whether it may be, now, one second. It may be noted that Finance Act 25 has omitted the provision relating to the time of supply of the voucher. So it is not effective on the date of the printing of the study material. Once the amendment will come into the effect, the student will no longer be required to study. So Finance Act 25, I think it is applicable for May batch. एक बार confirm कर दीजिए, it is applicable for May batch, May 26 examination. Correct? So it means it has been omitted. It has been omitted. And 12 subsection 5, if it is not possible to determine the time of supply under provision subsection 2 or subsection 3, the time of supply shall be in case where the periodical payment has to be filed, periodical return has to be filed, then the date on which such return is to be filed, and in any other case, the date on which the tax is paid. Correct? So sometime, suppose if there is a let's say search and seizure or scrutiny of returns or anything, and or enforcement case by the GST department, and they could not find any document, in the taxpayer premises. Neither they could find any invoice, nor they could find any books of accounts. So how to determine the time of supply? In case the periodically return is applicable, say suppose assuming that he is a monthly taxpayer. So the date on which such return is to be filed, 20th of the next month. Let's say it is a quarterly return, so 25th. Or in any other case, the date on which tax is to be paid. Let's say he is a composition dealer. Whether he is required to file the periodical return? Answer is no. He is not only required to file annual return, GSTR 4 and quarterly tax payment through CMP 8. In case then, if it is a composition taxpayer who is not periodically filing the return, then what would be the time of supply? The date on which tax is paid. And the last is time of supply to the extent it relates to an addition in the value by way of interest, by way of late fees or penalty for delayed payment of any consideration. Because if it is interest taken by the bank, is it taxable? No, it is exempted. They are saying which interest, which late fees, which penalty, only for the delayed payment of any consideration. And I think we have discussed in the last class, I have linked this particular with the section 15 subsection 2 as well, which talks about that interest, late fees and the penalty for the delayed payment should be added in the value. So it will be added in the value shall be the date on which the supplier receives such addition in the value. Correct? Tax invoice. So again, let me highlight, it can be, invoice can be issued before or it can be issued at the time of removal of the goods or delivery of the goods or making available thereof, whichever is earlier. Or I can say the date of the removal of the goods where the supply involves the movement of the goods. So if it is a movable goods, then the date on which the goods has been removed from the premises, that will be the last date. And if it is not movable, in that case, the delivery of the goods. Issued tax invoice showing the description, quantity, value, tax charge, and any other particular as may be prescribed, provided that the government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify the category of the goods or supplies in respect of which tax invoice shall be issued within such time, such manner as may be prescribed. In case of the continuous supply of the goods, हम क्या बात कर रहे हैं? We are talking about time limit to issue the tax invoice. We are talking about time limit to issue the tax invoice. If it is a continuous supply of the goods where successive statement or payment are involved, the invoice shall be issued before or at the time of each statement or payment is received. So if I have issued the statement or if I have received the payment, then I need to issue the invoice in case of the continuous supply of the goods. Sales on approval. Sales on approval. Sometimes the question may have this point directly. Examination question, I have seen that they are talking about the goods has been sent on approval basis. Then what is the last date? The last date is the date on which customer says that yes, goods are okay and please make the tax invoice. So invoice shall be issued at the time of supply. So once he confirmed he has given his acceptance, or max to max 6 months from the date of the removal, whichever is earlier. I hope the analysis part is being covered. Once, give me 1 minute. On which it is not applicable GST on advance, and we have to on which type of this relaxation is not applicable, and we need to pay the GST on advance for supply of the goods under forward charge, composition, dealer, and if you are supplying the actionable claim, specified actionable claim. These two transactions, there is no relaxation, otherwise there is a relaxation. And so I'm moving further, so that we have covered 1000 wala part. RCM we have covered. Now we are moving to the section 13. Almost similar, except forward and reverse. What is the time of supply for the forward charge? The time of supply shall be earliest of following date. The date of invoice, date of payment, whichever is earlier. So first clause, the date of invoice. When we will consider the date of invoice? We will consider the date of invoice if invoice has been issued within time. And if the invoice has not been issued within the time, then what we will do? We will ignore the date. And we will take the date of the provision of the service. If invoice is not issued within the time. See, assume that my service has been given on 15th Jan. Okay. And date of invoice is 1st Feb and payment is on 10th Feb. What is the time of supply? Can you please tell me? There are the 3 dates I have given. I have completed the service on 15th Jan. I have issued the invoice on 1st Feb. Payment has been received on 10th Feb. What is the time of supply in this case? What will be the time of supply in this case? The answer is 1st Feb. Why 1st Feb? Because the invoice has been issued within time. Let's say it is 1st March. Let's say it is 1st March. Then what would be your answer? What would be your answer in this case? Invoice date is 1st March. 10th Feb is the payment, or 15th Jan is the provision on which I have completed the service. The answer is 15th Jan. Correct. So third is date of payment, and in case of the payment, what we will consider? The entry in the books or So this clause is saying that if it is not possible to determine by clause A and clause B, in that case, we will understand or we will apply the time of supply equal to the receipt of service in the books. Same, if it is more than 1000, then the time of supply to the extent of such excess amount up to 1000, not more than up to 1000. The supplier has the option. He can treat the same and pay the GST at the time of such advance, or he can roll over to the next supply. Again, same clause, supply shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice or by the payment. Now, the date of receipt of payment shall be the date on which the payment is entered in the books or payment is credited in the bank, whichever is earlier. Now we are talking about reverse charge. And in case of the reverse charge, what is the new thing? This clause C is a new. In case the supplies in respect of which tax is paid or liable to be paid on reverse charge basis. In case of supplies in respect of which tax is paid or liable to be paid on reverse charge basis, the time of supply shall be earlier of following date. Earlier of following date, namely the date of payment as entered in the books or the date on which the payment is debited in the bank, whichever is earlier. In case of the supplies in respect of which tax is payable under reverse charge, time of supply shall be the date of payment. And what is the date of payment? When it is entered or when it is debited, whichever is earlier. Okay. And date immediately following 60 days. So we will add 60 or we will add 61. We will add 60 or we will add 61. The answer is 61. And third is the date of issue. So by whatever name called, that is okay. But what is the clause C? The date of invoice by the recipient in case where the invoice is required to be issued by the recipient. So I can say the clause B would be applicable when invoice is required to be issued by the supplier. So it means I can say the supplier is unregistered person. Then this clause B would not be applicable. Clause C would be applicable. So can you tell me that in the layman language, what we are calling the name of the invoice? When the invoice is issued by the recipient, we are calling one name. We are calling as a one invoice. What is the name of that invoice? Yes, self-invoice. No, it is self-invoice. It is self-invoice. Absolutely correct. In case where the invoice is required to be issued by the recipient, so we will discuss 31 subsection 3 clause F says, this clause says, if the payment, if the supplier is unregistered person and transaction is taxable under RCM, in that case, if the supplier is a registered person and the transaction is taxable under RCM, in that case, the recipient is required to prepare the self-invoice according to 31 subsection 3 clause F. Okay. That where it is not possible to determine the time of supply under clause A, clause B, then it will be as date of entry in the books. This clause is applicable in case of associated enterprises and it is only in the service. It is only in the service. What is the point? If you talk about the goods under RCM, you will not find this provision. So what they are saying, So if the associated enterprises, what is the meaning of associated enterprises? You have to refer the Income Tax Act. Where the supplier is located outside India and the time of supply shall be the date of entry in the books of the recipient or the date of the payment, whichever is earlier. So what we are ignoring here, हम यहाँ पे क्या ignore कर रहे हैं? Can you tell me what we are ignoring here? Can you tell me what we are ignoring here? See, normally we have talked about that what is the time of supply in case of RCM for services. But if the supplier is associated enterprises and supplier is located outside India, then RCM is applicable because it is an import of service. So here we are considering only to date. Here we are considering only to date. What is that? The date of entry in the books and date of payment. What we are considering? The date of invoice. Date of invoice. Correct? So if the supplier is unregistered, then we need to prepare the self-invoice. If the supplier is unregistered, then we need to prepare the self-invoice. Recipient will prepare the self-invoice, right? So, and if the recipient is preparing the self-invoice, then date of the self-invoice we are considering to determine the time of supply. But in case of associated enterprises, the concept of this will not be applicable. So be careful. Okay. Again, clause 4, subsection 4 is not applicable because it has been omitted by the Finance Act 25 and it is applicable to your batch if you are giving in the May 26. Again, the same 12.5 and 12.6, exactly same, no change. Means if it is not possible to determine under subsection 2 or subsection 3, then time of supply shall be in case where the periodical return has to be filed, be the date on which the assessed return is to be filed, or in any other case, the date on which the tax is to be paid. The time of supply to the extent it relates to an addition in the value by way of interest, late fees, or penalty for delayed payment of any consideration. In that case, it will be the date on which supplier receives such addition in the value. This is the only transaction which is not on accrual basis. It is on payment basis. See, in all other cases, if you have issued the invoice, you will pay the GST, right? Whether you've received the amount or not. But this is the only exception where you need to pay the GST if you receive the amount. Okay. 31 subsection 2 says the last date to issue the tax invoice for services. A registered person supplying the taxable service before or after the provision, but within a prescribed time. Time has been prescribed in the rule. Issue the tax invoice showing the description, value, tax, charge thereon, such other particular as may be prescribed. Provided that government may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, specify the categories of services in respect of which tax shall be issued as may be prescribed. So you will find special provision in some cases like banking company, you will find transporter, you will find works contract. There's some different provision regarding the issuance of invoice. So we need to see the rule. So normally, what is the time limit? That has been also given in the rule 47. It says that, again, government has the power that any other document in relation to the supply shall be deemed to be the tax invoice. So like in case of cinema, in case of passenger transportation service, they are saying ticket which is issued, that will be deemed to be the tax invoice. So that ticket card document will also be considered as date of invoice. Statement in case of the bank, it will be considered as date of invoice. So they have power to specify that it will be considered as invoice. So tax invoice may not be issued. Now 31(3)(f) we have already discussed. But what is the change in the 31(3)(f)? A registered person who is liable to pay the tax under subsection 3 or under subsection 4 or section 9. Can you tell me what is the difference in 9(3) and 9(4)? Only one difference I like to understand. Both are for reverse charge. Fully agree with you. But what is the main difference in 9(3) and 9(4)? What is the main difference? Any idea? No, no problem. In the 9(3), supplier can be registered or can be unregistered. But in the 9(4), supplier mandatorily has to be unregistered. In case of the reverse charge, 9(3), 9(4), what is the difference? 9(3) में supplier can be registered or can be unregistered, but in the 9(4), supplier has to be unregistered. And what is the difference? They have now linked with the time. They will issue the self invoice within the period as may be prescribed. Please note, earlier there was no concept of time limit for issuance of self invoice. Very important, there is no time limit to make the self invoice. Therefore, they have given the relaxation in case of ITC. You will discuss. But what happened after that? They have amended the 31(3)(f) and they are saying, shall within the time period as may be prescribed. From the supplier who is not registered, it is exactly same. So when RCM is applicable and if the supplier is unregistered, recipient is required to prepare the invoice that we are calling as self invoice. But now it has the time limit. What is the time limit? We will discuss. Now, if it is a continuous supply of service, again, if I talk about that continuous supply of the service versus continuous supply of the goods, क्या difference है दोनों में? What is the difference between continuous supply of the goods and continuous supply of service? For service, there is a minimum time limit of 90 days. But in case of the goods, it is not mandatory that it has to be rendered or it has to be provided for such time period. No, it can be, let's say, continuously for 15 days, for 45 days, it's possible, for 70 days, possible. But service can be called as a continuous supply of the service only if it is 90 or more than 90 days. That is the big difference. Again, the last date to issue the tax invoice, where the due date is ascertainable. So they've divided in 3 categories. First, if the due date is ascertainable, then that date. If due date is not ascertainable, then actual receipt. First is due date is ascertainable from the contract. अगर आंसर yes है, तो that date. If the due date is not ascertainable from the contract, then if the due date is not ascertainable from the contract, then actual receipt of the payment. And third, if the payment is linked to the completion of an event, the invoice shall be issued on or before the date of the completion of that event. Sometime we talked about that if this building is, means structure is started, then you will pay the 10% and you will pay 20 when your flat is completed, agera, agera. So that is the last date. In case where the supply of the service ceases under a contract before the completion, the invoice shall be issued at the time when the supply ceases, and such invoice shall be issued to the extent of the supplies made before the cessation. Rule 47. What is the Rule 47? Time limit to issue the tax invoice for serviceage. What is the normal time limit? 30 days. And if it is an insurance, banking company, financial institution, NBFC, then 45 days. 30 days normal time limit, 45 days these cases, insurance, banking company. And if it is a insurance distinct person transaction, so one ICII Bank, Mumbai, issuing the invoice to ICII Bank, Delhi. What will be the time limit? It says that it can issue the invoice when supply record the same in the books or before the expiry of the quarter during which supply was made. So they have a relaxation of 1 quarter. Rule 47 capital A has been issued for self-invoice. Rule 47 capital A has been issued for self-invoice. What is the time limit? He shall issue the invoice within 30 days, and 30 days ka counting would be from the date of the receipt of the goods or services. So now they are saying कि 30 days में invoice issue करना है. See, one point you remember that from 30 days would be counted from the receipt of goods or services. 30 days would be counted from receipt of goods or services. ठीक है? And that date is linked in the time of supply. That date is linked in the time of supply. पर important क्या है? If you go to the time of supply of the goods, you will not find any corresponding provision. But if you go to the time of supply for services, they have amended that particular self-invoice clause. Am I clear? If you go to the read and section 12 subsection 3, they do not have linked with the date of self-invoice. Kyun? Why they are saying so? Because first clause says date of receipt of goods. So when the goods has been received, it attracts the time of supply. So therefore, there is no requirement to give the 30 days का relaxation. क्योंकि 30 days की काउंटिंग कहां से है? गुड्स रिसीव होने से. अगर गुड्स को ही टैक्सेबल बना दिया, रिसीट ऑफ गुड्स को एक टैक्सेबल इवेंट बना दिया, if they have made the taxable event for the receipt of goods, then there is no requirement to add the date of self invoice in case of goods. Is it clear? But services, it is required because date of receipt of service is not the taxable event. Fine. Let's move further. Clarification on the time of supply of service for the spectrum uses and other similar services under GST. So I request you to read the circular. It is clarified that similar treat. One second. In the given case, since the date of the payment to be made by the telecom operator to DOT is clearly ascertainable from the contract, the invoice shall be issued in accordance with 31 subsection 5 clause A, continuous supply, where the due date of the payment is ascertainable from the contract. The invoice shall be issued on or before the due date. Accordingly, the tax invoice will be required to be issued in respect of the supply on or before the due date. Okay. So there was a doubt with the spectrum allocation model followed by the DOT bidder, that is, let's say ITL Geo, bids for the securing the right. Here the service provider, that is DOT, government, and service recipient, that is ITL. The GST is to be discharged on the supply under RCM basis. And in case when the full upfront payment is made by the telecom operator, GST would be payable at the time when the full upfront payment is made. In case where the deferred payment is made, then it is covered in the continuous supply of service. That was the part which they have clarified. Last change in the rate of the taxes. What is the section 14? Section 14 says that it is applicable for section 12 as well as section 13. So when I will explain the section 14, normally I use one chart. Okay, let me prepare that for you. You can read the language. There is one way, and second way that you can refer this chart also to remember the provision, and accordingly your answer would be correct. So there are three events: date of supply, date of payment, and date of invoice. And one or two, and let's say there is a change in the rate of taxes. This is CRT. Let's say that is 22nd September 2025. We all know that rate of the taxes has been changed. So either one or two event has been prior to CRT and balance is after CRT. Then section 14 will come. यहाँ तक बात clear है? So taking one example, what to do? Let's say date of supply is 1st Feb 2026, 25. Date of payment is 1st March 2025. And date of invoice is, let's say, this is in date of invoice. Now tell me, you need to ask two questions, question number 1 and question number 2. Where is the majority? Let me solve first. This is before CRT and this is after CRT, right? No, now.
Sir, are you writing something? We are not visible, but we only.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. One second. Now I hope it is visible. Let me repeat once again, starting from start. So I'm saying that there are three events is important: date of supply, date of payment, and date of invoice. Fine. Out of three, there will be the some event which will happen before CRT and balance event will happen after CRT. I'm taking one example to explain the same. Assume that in this case, date of supply is 1st September 2025. Date of invoice is 1st October 2025. And date of payment is, let's say, 1st November 2025. इसको हम थोड़ा पहले शिफ्ट कर लेते हैं. Now you can see that there are two events which are before CRT and one event is after CRT. Therefore, section 14 will come into the picture. CRT means change in the rate of the taxation. I'm using the short term. Short word, change in rate of tax. Now tell me, where is the majority? There are two dates and in after CRT there are one date. I can say majority is before. Now once you give the answer to the question number one, then you will strike through the date of supply. You will strike through the date of supply in your mind or in your calculation. Now, once you deleted the date of supply, can you tell me how many dates are there in before? Only one date, sir. What is that? Date of invoice. So, question number two is the time of supply. Question number two answer is the time of supply. Let's do one more example. Assume that you have made the invoice on 21st September, but 21st September, but the supply has been made on 23rd September and payment has been received on 24th September. Now tell me, where is the majority, before or after? Where is the majority, before or after? Where is the majority, before or after? There is one date in before and there is two date in after. So simply I can say the majority is after. Once you say the after, then what you will remove? Once you say after, then what you will remove? Once you say after, then what you will remove? What you will remove? So date of supply. I have removed the date of supply. How many dates are there in the after? Date of payment. So in this case, the time of supply will be the date of payment. You can check the corresponding section 14. This would be your answer. Last example. Assume that you have the date of invoice, let's say 24 September, and date of payment is, let's say, 25 September, and date of supply, let's say, is 1st September. Tell me, where is the majority? Tell me, where is the majority? Before or after? After, because there is two date after. Once you say after, follow the concept always. You will remove the date of supply. Even though it is not relevant here, but you will remove the date of supply. How many dates are there in the after? This time there are two dates in after. So follow the concept of whichever is earlier. Follow the concept of whichever is earlier. So what will be the time of supply? Date of invoice. Is that clear? So you please read that provision, and accordingly 14 entire 14 section will be completed. Now the only important part is there, this explanation. Last important part, it says that date of the receipt of the payment, sorry, not this one, proviso, after 4 working days. See, in case date of the receipt of the payment shall be date of credit in the bank, normally what happen? Normally we are saying date of receipt is equal to, date of the receipt payment is equal to when the amount is entered in the books or when the payment is credited in the bank, whichever is earlier. Normally हम यही कहते हैं. But in one case, we will ignore the date of entry in the books. In one case, हम ignore कर देंगे and we will consider only date of credit in the bank if this is after 4 working days. Why it's so? Let me explain with the example. So now taking the same example, let's say taking the same example. Now you tell me, date of payment what you will consider in this case? Suppose you have done the entry in the books on 24 September 2025, 26 September 2025, and your payment is credited in the bank, let's say 25 September. What is the date of payment? What is the date of payment in this case? Very simple. First, I'm starting 25th, whichever is earlier. You will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. So based on that, I have prepared this example. So I have considered the date of the payment is 25th September. Now let's say in this example, I'm using the same example, just changing the slide date. You have entered the receipt entry in the books on 22nd September and your payment is credited on 25th September. Now tell me, what is the date of payment? Normally, what is the date of payment? If I will assume the whichever is earlier, if I will assume the whichever is earlier, then it would be 20th September. Correct, now? So in that case, let's say, what is the date of supply? This is the date of supply. I could prepone the date of payment by just passing the accounting entry. Let's say it is 10th to remove the confusion of Saturday, Sunday, working days. Wala. Now, in this case, in the above example, you are saying, what is the time of supply? And above example, you are saying, what is the time of supply? Date of invoice. What is the time of supply? Date of invoice. Now, just by passing the accounting entry in the books, you can change the time of supply. Now, in this case, where is the majority? Now, tell me, where is the majority? Before or after? You will say before. And once you will say before, what you will remove? You will remove date of supply. In the before, how many items are there? Only one. Only one. That is date of payment. So, what is the time of supply? Date of payment. So, what you did, you have done the adjustment entry to prepone your time of supply. Therefore, they are saying, so normally you will apply this funda, whichever is earlier, but if the gap is of 4 working days, more than 4 working days, then you will ignore the date on which you pass the accounting entry. You will consider the date of receipt of payment. That's it. Is that clear? Is that clear? So by this we have done with the time of supply chapter. Let me see अगर कुछ छूटा है तो नहीं. Time of supply chapter is completed. Take a short break of 10 minutes. And then we will start the next chapter, value of the supply. And then in the last we will do the exemptions. ठीक है? Okay. So now we were talking about the value supply. So before starting this point, what is the value of the supply? The value of the supply will be the transaction value. If the party, the supplier and the recipient is not related, condition number one, and condition number two, the transaction should be in the monetary only. If these two conditions are satisfied, then we can say the value will be the actual money paid or payable. Okay. Then 15 subsection. So it means, what does it means? If the supplier and the recipient are related, then you cannot apply the transaction value concept. Agreed? Then what you will do? You will go to the valuation rule, rule 27 to 31, and you will apply the valuation rule to determine the value of the supply. Correct. There is a concept of open market value, cost plus 10%, something there is a value. There is a valuation rule we will discuss to determine the value. But when you will determine the value according to the valuation rule, if the parties are not related, will you apply? No. We will apply if the money is not completely, if the consideration is not completely in the money, or if the supplier and the recipient are related parties. Then we will go to the valuation rule. Now 15 subsection 2 says that add 5 things in the value. Can you tell me? Can you tell me any 1 or 2 or 3, whatever you can recall? किस किस अमाउंट को हम ऐड करते हैं वैल्यू में? Can you recall and tell me? Any 1 or 2? And we have discussed one at least. We have already covered one point. किस किस चीज को हम ऐड करते हैं वैल्यू में, एंड वो जो टोटल वैल्यू होती है उसके ऊपर हमें जीएसटी चार्ज करना होता है. फर्स्ट इज एनी टैक्सेस ड्यूटी सेस leviable under any other act not in the GST. So tell me one thing, if the tax rate is 18%, then and it is an intrastate supply, what would be the tax rate for CGST? If the total tax rate is 18, and suppose the transaction is intra, then what is the tax rate of CGST? 9. Very simple. Suppose the total value is 1000 rupees of the value of the goods. CGST is 90 rupees. So for determining the SGST, will you add the CGST and then on the total value will charge the SGST? You will add the CGST value to calculate the SGST amount. The answer is no. Why no? Because of this. It means you will add the value, but you will not add you will add the taxes in the value, but other than GST. Correct. Now let's take one more example. There is an income tax. We all know that there is an income tax concept of TCS. So assume that total value of the goods is 15 lakh and 15,000 is the TCS. And let's say GST is 5%. So GST would be levied on 15 lakh or 15.15 lakh. Will you add the TCS in the value to calculate the GST? TCS under income tax I'm talking about. TCS under income tax I'm talking about? The answer is no. Why no? Answer is no. Why no? Because, again, because of this word. TCS is not the levy, it is only the collection. TCS is not the levy, it is only the collection, and therefore the TCS will not be added in the value to determine. TCS will not be added in the value to determine the liability of the GST. Okay. So absolutely correct. So can you give me one example? Which type of the tax to be added? Any one example where we are adding the tax to calculate the GST? Any one example? Correct. Like we are importing the goods and we are charging the GST, IGST, and IGST is to be charged on the value of the goods, add custom, add cess, social welfare cess, etc. Whatever the taxes is there, we will add in the value. Example, let's talk about tobacco. Tobacco, excise duty, as well as GST, both are leviable on the tobacco. So when you calculate the GST on the tobacco, you will add the excise duty in the value, and on the total amount, you will charge the GST. Correct. Any amount that supplier is liable to pay, but which has been actually paid by the recipient, and to that extent not included in the price. So that is the wrong thing. Correct now. So by this, we might be divert the liability. So I'm a supplier, I'm a chartered accountant, okay, and you have given the retainership to me. So the total monthly retainership charges is 60,000 rupees per month, out of which, let's say, there is a salary of 30,000. What I will say, because you are dealing in the exempt supply, TCS will be charged, whereas TDS is deducted before GST. See, whether you charge after GST, whether you deduct before GST, doesn't matter. Only point you should remember that GST would be calculated in the value before TCS and TDS. So there is a value of the 1 lakh rupees on which there is a 10% TDS. So GST would be, assume that GST is 18%. 18% would be applied on 1 lakh, not after TDS. Same for TCS, that GST would be TCS under income tax, TDS under income tax. Or that point is correct. That point is correct because you are saying TDS will be excluding GST value. So you are talking about income tax point of view, right? You are talking about income tax point of view. So fine. That is okay. That is correct. So, but your concept is clear. Correct. Very true. Now, I have sent one of my team member to whom I am paying the salary. Now I am saying that you pay the salary directly to that person and I will raise the invoice of 30,000. In this case, I will be covered in the clause B. That if any amount which is liability of mine, because he is my employee. So if I have the liability you have incurred and I have raised the invoice excluding that amount, then it says that please add that value and then you charge the GST. Incidental expenditure, anything, packing charges, loading, unloading, delivery charges. Sometimes we are adding, so that will be added in the value. Interest or late fees for delayed payment, we have already discussed, and subsidies other than government, which is linked to the price. It will be added in the value. Okay. So 15 subsection 3 says that value of the supply shall not include any discount which is given before or at the time of the supply if such discount is duly recorded in the invoice. Okay. So I'm issuing the invoice of rupees 1 lakh and I'm giving the discount of 10,000. So the taxable value will be after removing the discount. Now, let's say if I am giving the discount post supply. So I have issued the invoice of rupees 1 lakh, then 2 lakh, then 5 lakh, then 10 lakh, 15 lakh, and assume that in the total year I have issued the invoice of 1 crore. I have the target discount that if you will achieve the sale of 1 crore, I will give you I will give you the discount of 5%. Which document will be given for giving the discount post supply? Can you tell me? I am a supplier, you are my customer, and you are, let's say, distributor. I am manufacturer company, and I am making the sale to you, and I have the target given to you. If you achieve the sale of 1 crore, I will give you the discount of 5%. Now, because I have issued the invoice of rupees 1 crore entire year, so I will give you the discount of 5 lakh. Now tell me which document I will issue. Answer is credit note, not debit note. Debit में तो और बढ़ जाएगा ना value. So it will be the credit note which I will issue. Am I right? So if I need to give the credit, na, credit note by supplier, not by customer. See, I am the manufacturer company. You are my customer. Okay. I am giving you the invoice, and in the total year you have achieved the target of 1 crore. So correct. So my total receivable is 1 crore. So I will give you the discount of 5%. So means I will give the benefit to you, right? So for that, I will issue the credit note. Now the question, so sure, I will explain again. No problem. See, Asthana, assume that I am the manufacturing company, okay, and Samyanathan, you are my customer, and you are distributor, big distributor. So I have given the invoices of rupees 1 crore. Multiple invoices are there. So you have achieved that target of 1 crore? Yes. There will be the multiple invoices. Okay. So now, because you have achieved the 1 crore, I am giving you the offer of 5% discount. I am giving you the offer of the 5%. So 5% means I will give you the benefit or I will collect the amount from you. Aapne, if you have done the sale, targeted, you have achieved the target. So I will give you the benefit or I will collect the money from you.
It will be in the invoice only. Will give the discount now.
No. See, one second. See, when I am giving you the goods, I will issue the invoice.
Yes.
Let's remove this part. Let's again talking one example. You are retailer coming to my shop and I'm saying this watch is 1 lakh rupees. You are talking about, sir, give me discount. I'm saying that if you purchase right now, I will give you the discount of 10%. So how much amount I will collect from you? 1 lakh or 90,000?
90,000 only.
90,000. So it means for 10,000, whether I am increasing the value or I am decreasing the value.
Decreasing the value, na?
Absolutely correct. Now suppose assume करो कि मैंने आपको invoice बना दिया. Are you comfortable in Hindi also?
हाँ, sure sir.
So let's sorry, but I think some other participant would not be. No problem. So I have issued the invoice of rupees 1 lakh to you. Assume, and now I like to give the discount of 10%. So net amount I will collect you 90,000, which you told me.
Yes.
So which document I will issue? I will issue the credit note.
You will issue credit note.
Correct, right? Because invoice will increase the amount which I am collecting from you. I have wrongly raised the invoice of rupees 1 lakh. Now you are saying, sir, I will pay the immediate cash. You please give the discount. Because I have already issued the invoice, I need to collect less amount. So how the value of the invoice would be reduced? By way of the credit note.
Sure.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Now the point is, so coming back to again, let's say Samyanathan, Geeta or Sachi, that I am the manufacturing company and you are the distributor. Okay. And then I have issued the invoice in the year of 1 crore. Now I like to give you 5% discount. So I will issue the credit note. Till here, all are clear?
Okay. Now I am clear. Fine.
Okay. So the question is, this credit note will be with the GST or without GST? That depend upon these conditions. See, why with the GST, without GST I'm talking about? Again, I'm talking, let's very important point. Say you are also registered in the GST and I am also registered in the GST. You all tell me in the chat or whatever, you can unmute. If I am issuing the invoice, you will take the ITC or you will reverse the ITC? I'm talking about invoice. Will you take the ITC or will you reverse the ITC?
Take the ITC.
You will take the ITC. I'm sorry, Saminathan, I'm talking about first invoice. As of now I have not reached to the credit note. Saminathan, abhi as of now I am at the invoice level. So when I am issuing the invoice, then I will pay the GST to the government and you will take the ITC. Now, if I will issue the credit note with the GST, take the example, if I will issue the credit note with the GST, you will reverse the ITC or you will take the ITC?
We'll have to reverse.
You will reverse. So the point is think from supplier point of view. You have given the correct answer from the recipient point of view. Now talked about I am a supplier. When I am issued the tax invoice to you, have I paid the tax to the government or have I taken the tax from the government? Invoice.
No, for invoice, you had paid the tax to government.
I have paid the taxes. So when I issue the credit note to you, I will take the tax back or I will do the adjustment in the upcoming taxes. It means if I am supplier, I'm issuing the credit note by charging the GST, it means I am taking the rebate. I am taking the advantage of tax from the government. Is this point clear?
Yes.
Geeta, Saminathan, is this point clear? Is this point clear? Fine. Now always remember, whenever we are paying something to the government, there will be no restriction. There will be no restriction. Example, if I have not issued the tax invoice and not paid to the government, will after November or after certain time limit, will the government says that you are not required to pay the tax?
No.
Never. They will never say.
Hmm.
If I need to take the ITC and I have not taken the ITC by 30th November, can I take the ITC?
No.
No. It means when I'm paying something to the government, there is no time limit. You will pay along with interest. But when the question comes of taking the benefit like ITC, there is a time limit. If I am not taking the ITC till 30th November, that will be time barred. Same example now. This is the background. Now I'm coming to my point. If I am issuing the credit note, so I am taking some benefit from the government because I am reducing my tax liability. Therefore, government is saying I, being a supplier, can issue the GST credit note post supply discount only if three conditions are satisfied. It should be linked to the relevant invoices. ITC has been reversed by the recipient. Third, there has to be the agreement. Why they are imposing the condition? Why they are imposing the condition? Because I, being a supplier, taking some advantage from the government. Is this clear?
Yes.
You remember that there is a time limit to issue the credit note? Anyone have any idea? Is there any time limit to declare the credit note? Yes.
Yes.
30th
Yes.
November. Same 30th November. Is there any time limit to issue the tax invoice or debit note? Yes, time limit hai. But if you have not issued,
You can issue.
you can issue, but you have to pay the interest.
Yes.
But if I have not issued the credit note, can I issue the credit note after 30th November?
No.
No. Why no? Because I am taking some benefit from the government. Is this point clear? So tax invoice, there is no benefit, so no problem. Credit note with GST is the benefit to the supplier. Therefore, they are saying you can issue the credit note by charging the GST. See, you will not find the wording directly. You will not find this wording directly, but इसका indirect meaning यही है. I am issuing the GST credit note. Then they are saying if it is established in terms of agreement, condition number 1, it should be linked to the relevant invoices, condition number 2, and then ITC has been reversed by the recipient. This is condition number 3. Now, practically it was challenging. So there was some amendment in the law in the Finance Act 26. So which is just first को जो budget आया था ना, there has some changes that we will discuss whenever you give the exams or complete your exam when you read whenever the finance sector is applicable. So only point I like to say, in the clause B, they are talking about post supply discount. And post supply discount is possible only by credit note, with the GST. And therefore, they are saying that you need to reverse the input tax credit. And you should have the agreement and you should link to the relevant invoices. Okay. Then next is, okay. Now, what is the meaning of related party? Related person means officer, director, legally recognized partner. Employer and employees are also related party. Directly or indirectly own, control, or holding 25% or more. Directly or indirectly control the other, both of them controlled. Together they are controlling, they are family member. These are the. Now, so section 15 is completed. We need to read the rules only. Saminathan, if you go to the section 34, there are the 4 situations where supplier can issue the GST credit note. One is taxable value charge extra. Tax is charge extra. Third is sale goods has been returned by the recipient. Fourth is goods or service found to be deficit. Okay. So taxable value charge extra. So discount will be covered in this only. Price change will be covered in this only. Directly, so considering the time, let me come to the rules directly. Circular, give me 1 minute. So that was very, very nice. So there are a lot of circular. You can read that circular. Value the supply made by the component manufacturer using the OEM sent free of cost to him. So while calculating the value supply made by the component manufacturer using the mold IGX fixtures by OEM sent FOC basis, then value shall not be added because the cost not been incurred by the component manufacturer and thus does not merit inclusion. However, if the contract between OEM and manufacturer was that component made by using the mold dies, and this time mold dies belongs to the manufacturer, but the same have been supplied by the OEM. So equipment manufacturing company has given to the component manufacturer. I am a job worker, component manufacturer, and you have given me the free of cost. In that case, it will be added in the value. Circular 92. You remember that circular 92 we have discussed in the supply chapter as well. Now we are discussing here also. Staggered discount, buy more, save more. In case staggered discount, rate of discount increase, so discount will be reduced from the value according to 15 subsection 3 clause A. Correct? If it is a periodical discount or volume discount, okay, then also it will be reduced in the value. Or secondary discount, agar all conditions are satisfied of the 15(3)(b). Quickly tell me what are the 3 conditions. For post supply discount. So it should be linked to the invoices, there has to be the agreement. ITC has been reversed by the recipient, correct? So if the conditions are satisfied, then I, being a supplier, will issue the GST credit note. If it is not satisfied, then I will issue the commercial credit note, financial credit note. You remember? Do you know that what is the difference between the financial credit note and GST credit note? The 15(3)(b) says, if the conditions are satisfied, then I will issue the GST credit note. You need to reverse the ITC. But suppose condition not satisfied, I am giving you the ad hoc discount of 6 lakh rupees. There is no agreement. There is no link to the supply. There is no linking to the invoices which I have issued. I am giving you the ad hoc discount. In that case, 15(3)(b) not satisfied. Can I issue the GST credit note? No. I will issue the credit note that will be without GST because I am not satisfied the conditions. So in that case, you being a recipient, not required to reverse the ITC. Always remember, if the credit note is with GST, then recipient is required to reverse the ITC. If the credit note is without GST, which is called as financial credit note or commercial credit note, दो नाम है उसके. In that case, you being a recipient, not required to anything to ITC. Financial or commercial credit note can be issued. Such credit note does not include GST and do not have any impact on the value. No claim bonus we have already discussed in the last class. मैं just valuation rule पे जाता हूँ. Rules, valuation rules पे जाता हूँ. Rule 27. When the consideration is not fully in the money, taking the example of I am the Activa manufacturing company. So I am selling the Activa नया मॉडल जो है, I am selling the Activa at 1 lakh rupees. ठीक है. But let's say Mr. A customer has reached to me, and at that time I have the exchange offer. I am saying that I will give you the new Activa at 1 lakh rupees, but if you give the old Activa, let's say model 4G, then I will give you the new Activa at 60,000 rupees. Can the GST be chargeable only on 60,000? No. Why no? Because section 15 subsection 1 says that the money actually paid or payable will be the taxable value for the purpose of GST if the recipient is not related party. Condition satisfied? Yes. And price should be completely in the money. Here in this case, is it completely in the money? No, sir. Because he's giving the old Activa. He's giving the old Activa under the exchange. So therefore, he's giving the cash 60,000 and old Activa. So in that case, I cannot charge the GST on 60,000. So I will go to the rule 27, which says that first you calculate the open market value. If you are selling the Activa openly without any exchange offer, then what price you will charge? 1 lakh. So this under exchange offer for which you have received the 60,000 monetary amount, you will pay the GST on 1 lakh. Okay. Next clause is saying that suppose if I am not in the position that I can calculate the open market value, because I am only selling the Activa. This Activa I am only selling under exchange. So clause A is not possible. Clause B says that apply the formula. How much amount you have received in the cash? Cash means monetary benefit, 60,000. Add the amount which you have received in non-monetary. So I have received non-monetary as old Activa. So equivalent money value. So I will add both and then I will calculate the value. So 60,000 is the money plus, let's say, to make it easier, I'm saying that old Activa ka value is 40,000. So I will pay the GST on 1 lakh. Now clause C says that A is not possible to determine. B is also not possible to determine, then I will go to the like, kind, and quality product. So I am saying that the Activa which I have given under exchange is equal to the Bajaj, any model you can say, and this is being sold at 97,000. So I will take the 97,000 as the value on which I will charge the GST. Clause D says A is also not possible, B is also not possible, C is also not possible. Then you will apply the rule 30. You will apply the You will apply the rule 30, that is cost plus 10%. And again, if it is not possible to determine the cost, then you can go to the rule 31. Rule 31 says that you determine the value according to the principle that we have discussed. They have not given any formula. They have not given how to calculate. That is on normal conceptual detailed calculation. But rule 31 is the last method which says that residual method, how to calculate the value. Now, rule 28 I'm talking about. Now let's say Mr. A has sold the car to Mr. B, who is related party. Then the value of the car, let's say he is charging 1 lakh rupees. It will not be accepted. It will not be accepted. So therefore, always see कि supplier and recipient are related or not. Let's say if employer has given the let's say uh, computer to employee, the computer worth is 1 lakh, but they are giving at a discount of rupees 40,000. So they are charging 60,000. Question number 1 will come, whether GST would be payable on 60 or it would be on 1 lakh. Why this question comes? Because we know that employer and employees are related parties. Employer and employees are related party, right? So therefore, the GST would be payable according to the rule 28, which says that open market value. If suppose open market value is not available, upon market value is not available, then like, kind, and quality. Again, if it is not, then rule 30, then rule 31. It is exactly same. What is the difference? Difference is in the proviso. It says that there are two benefits which we are giving in this transaction. First benefit, if it is intended for further supply. So you are giving to Mr. A is giving to Mr. B, who is related, but Mr. B further sell that car. In that case, they have the option. कौन किसके पास ऑप्शन है? ए के पास. It can be 90%, but 90% of which? Same car? No. Like, kind, and quality car, and sold by B to unrelated parties. See, try to understand. It is very complex. A is selling the car to B at 1 lakh rupees. The car ka model, let's say XYZ. Then the proviso says you charge 90%. They are saying A can charge 90%. But problem is 90% of what? 90% of when we make a further supply to unrelated party, like, kind, and quality. Let's say it is a PQR model. Us value ka, let's say this car is being sold at 90,000. Then 90% of this, not 1 lakh. Got my point? So this is very typical in calculation, but this is very, very beneficial. It says that if, let's say A is selling the car, B is also in the selling the car, so they can take the ITC. If B is entitled to full ITC, or let's say, I'm giving you the perfect example is stock transfer. There is a factory in Delhi and there is a retail showroom is in Maharashtra. So once goods are being manufactured, then they will transfer from factory to Maharashtra. We all know that because of the schedule 1 para 2, there has to be the tax invoice. There has to be the tax invoice, right? But in this case, what will be the value? Second proviso to the Rule 28 sub Rule 1 says that if this Maharashtra unit is eligible for full ITC, obviously eligible, na? They are making the taxable supplies. Then in that case, even if the invoice is raised on rupees 10, let's say they are raising the invoice by charging the value as rupees 10, it is acceptable. They shall be deemed to be the open market value. Rule 28 sub Rule 2 has been given for the purpose of corporate guarantee. There was a lot of confusion with respect to corporate guarantee. So they are saying, what is the value? They are saying 1% of the amount per annum. They are fixing the value of the corporate guarantee as 1%. If distinct person within the GST stock transfer, so let's say I have the factory in UP and I have also, or Delhi, and I have also the showroom in Delhi, and I'm doing that stock transfer. Will it be taxable or not? It depends on whether both are having the same GST number or different GST number. If it is same, then it is not the distinct person. अगर GST number same है तो वो distinct person नहीं है, right? If they are not the distinct person, not taxable. But if they are having the separate GST number, we all know that within the state we can have the separate GST number. In that case, this transfer within the state will become taxable. Is it clear, Samiratan? So depend upon the same GST. The answer is yes, it is not taxable. Agar GST number same hai, it is not taxable. If the GST number are different, it is taxable. If same GST number, no GST, if they both are having the same GST number, then no GST. If they are having the different GST number, then yes, need to pay the GST. Okay. No GST on the same GST number. If they are having the different GST number, then it is taxable. Need to pay the GST. Rule 29, exactly same as Rule 28. Copy paste Rule 28. What is the difference? Only difference, this proviso is not there. And this Rule 2 is not there. That's it. Read. Value of the goods made through agent. The value of the goods being principal and agent, open market value, or it can taken the 90%. Then Rule 30 or Rule 31. That's it. No proviso. Rule 30, cost plus 10%. So 110% of the cost. Okay. Rule 31, that is the residual method. It says that where the value of the goods or services or both cannot be determined using the Rule 27 to Rule 30, same shall be determined using the reasonable mean consistent with the principle and general provision of Section 15 and the provision of this chapter. So they are not giving any method. You yourself calculate and pay the GST. In case of service, there is an option that you can ignore the Rule 30 and directly jump to the Rule 31. In case of the lottery, betting, gambling, horse racing, it says that the notwithstanding anything content, the value in respect of supply specified below shall be determined in the manner provided hereinafter. The value of the lottery shall be deemed to be the 100 divided by 128. Because we know that the rate of the tax on the lottery is 28 and the total price they are collecting face value of the ticket. It means it is inclusive of GST. Okay. So they will do the reverse calculation. So they will divide by 128 multiply by 100. Okay. Face value or the price as defined as notified in the official gazette. Then the value of the supply of the actionable claim in the form of chance to win the betting, gambling, racing shall be 100% of the face value of the bet or net amount paid in the total item. So on the total value, they will charge GST. Now, in case of online gaming, including OMG, online money gaming, what is the value? This is the Rule 31B and 31C is also same. They are saying that the value will be the total amount paid or payable, including VDA. First time they have considered the virtual digital asset in the GST. as consideration. They're not saying taxability, etc. They're not saying anything. But virtual digital asset, they are saying yes, it is considered as monetary consideration. So if the amount is being paid through virtual digital asset, that also become taxable. Now this proviso is important. They are saying no concept of sales return, no concept of sales return, no concept of credit note. Means it says that any amount returned or refunded by supplier of online money gaming to the player for any reason shall not be deductible from the value of the supply. It means I being a supplier, cannot issue the credit note if I'm returning the money to you. Then in case of casino, the purchase of the token, ticket, by whatever name called, participating in any game, scheme, competition, etc. in case where the token chip are not required, provided that any same amount refunded by the casino, it will not be deducted. Okay. Now this explanation is very important, and to larger extent I can say it is beneficial. For the purpose of Rule 31B and 31C, any amount received by the player by winning any event, including game, scheme, competition, which is used for playing by the said player in the further event. So suppose I am playing the casino, I have started with 10,000 rupees and I won the game. So my 10,000 become 15,000. The 15,000 I have used in the another game. 15 become 18. And again, I have withdrawn that entire 18,000. In that case, do I need to pay the GST on 8,000? Answer is no. The explanation says that any amount used for playing by the said player without withdrawing shall not be considered as amount paid or deposited with the supplier. So suppose I have taken 18 and next day I have deposited once again 18. Because I have withdrawal and depositing fresh, then it become taxable. But without withdrawing, if I'm using for further play, it will not be taxable. Right, Saminathan. Because see, ultimately, if I have started the playing game 10,000 and I won 8, it means someone else has deposited and lose the game. Someone else has deposited the amount and lose the game. तभी तो मेरा 18 बना. And if someone has deposited, then he has paid the GST. So indirectly, the 8,000 is also GST is being paid whenever any person has deposited the amount to play the game. So therefore, they are saying that no GST on next game. Rule 32. Rule 32 sub rule 2 says that the supplier, rule 32 sub rule 1 says that we are giving the option to the supplier. He can determine in the following manner if we like to do. Because here I can say there are the 4 category of the business which is being covered. And on these 4 categories of the business, GST is being charged at a lesser amount. So in case of like foreign exchange, foreign currency, they are saying that if foreign currency, purchase or sale of the foreign currency, then how to determine? They are saying 2 methods. There are 2 methods. First method is saying if currency exchange from or to Indian rupees, let's say I'm giving you the dollar and you're giving me the INR, and you are in the business of buying and selling of the foreign currency. Then difference in the buying rate or selling rate and the RBI reference rate of that currency. So you are giving me at rupees 97, let's say. And on that day, the rate of the RBI is 96. So the GST would be payable on rupees 1. Let's say I have exchanged the currency of 1 lakh. So you will raise the invoice by charging the GST on which value? On the difference between the rate you have given to me buying or selling minus the RBI reference rate. If the RBI reference rate is not available, then 1% of the gross amount of INR. Second proviso says, if neither of the currency is INR, then value shall be equal to the 1% of the both currency. So both currency I will convert in INR. I will take the lesser amount and uska 1% will be the value. ठीक है. Then second method, which is mostly being followed in this industry. Second method says that if you're like an income tax slab rate, if the amount is up to rupees 1 lakh, then 1% of the gross amount. If more than 1 lakh but up to 10 lakh, then in addition to 1 lakh, the 1000 rupees plus differential amount half percent. Tell me, if the total amount is 6 lakh, how much will be the taxable value? Please apply this calculation. So I can say first is 1%, second is half percent, and third is 1/10. Okay. Now please tell me, if the amount is 6 lakh rupees, then how much would be the taxable value? How much would be the taxable value? Please calculate and tell me the answer. Six lakh है तो कितना अमाउंट बनेगा? तो यू विल से फर्स्ट 1 lakh is 1%, that is 1000, and differential 5 lakh you will say 0.5%, so 2500. So the total is 3500. ठीक है. If you are in the booking of ticket for by air travel agent, then it will be deemed to be the rate of the 5% अगर domestic है, 10% अगर international है. Life insurance business में क्या है? Gross premium. In case of the life insurance, the gross premium charged from a policyholder reduced by the amount collected for investment. See, if clause A says that if policy is for investment or if the amount is intimated to the policyholder, see whether just give me 1 minute. So if you have given them, see, rule 32 sub rule 4 is applicable on the life insurance business. Okay. If it is a term plan, let's say insurance is 10,000 rupees per annum, GST would be payable on entire 10,000. If it is an endowment plan में क्या होता है? If something is happened to the policy holder, then the nominee will get the amount. Am I right? And if nothing is happened to the policyholder, will he get the amount at the time of maturity? क्या उसे maturity के time पे कुछ amount मिलेगा? Will he get the amount at the time of maturity? Yes. So therefore, let's say now premium is 15,000. Endowment plan he has purchased. Now, will the GST is payable on entire 15,000? No. There will be the some amount reduced. How much will be reduced? They have categorized if the amount at which investment is made is intimated to the policyholder. Let's say I'm saying to the policyholder that out of the premium that you're given, 4,200 will be invested. So if the amount is invested, that will be reduced, and total amount which represent the risk, that will be taxable. Now let's say if amount is not like ULIP, something like that. If there is a single premium plan, there is some policy which are only one time single premium. In that case, they will charge, say, total 10 lakh rupees is the premium, single premium. Then in that case, what will be the taxable value? 10 lakh ka 10% is 1 lakh is the taxable value. Third category, in any other case, like our insurance, normal insurance, they are saying the first year premium, we will charge the GST on the value. Let's say premium is 15,000, on the value multiplied by 25%. First year premium ka 25%, because they are saying कि 25% would be the risk component. 25% would be the risk component. 75% is the investment component. So they are removing the investment part. They are charging the GST only on the risk part. And for first year, they are saying the risk would be 25%. And second year onwards, they are saying the risk would be 12.5%. And last is 12 subsection 5, rule 32 rule 5. If you are engaged in the buying and selling of second-hand goods, then what would be the value? Sale minus purchase. If the difference is negative, then you will ignore. It means no GST in case the person is selling the goods in loss. Can rule 32 sub rule 5 be applied? I'm giving you one example. Mr. A is a manufacturing of steel. A is a company, let's say AYZ Limited, ABC Limited is manufacturing the steel. He has old computer and those computer has been sold. Can computer has been purchased in 10,000 rupees? Listen my example carefully. Computer has been purchased at, let's say, 60,000 rupees. After 3 years, the WDV is 20,000. He's selling the computer as 25,000. The steel manufacturing company selling his old computer at 25,000, will they pay the GST on differential amount or will they pay the GST on full amount, 25,000? Saminathan, on premium only. So in this example, the steel manufacturing company will pay the GST on 25,000 or will pay the GST on difference, sale minus WDV? The answer is full value, because rule 35 would be applicable on the person who is like cardekho.com, furnituredekho.com. Let's say there is a concept of scrap dealer. So the person who is in the business of scrap dealer, kabadi wala, will apply this. ठीक है. In case of the banking company, repossession of the goods, defaulting borrower who is not registered, then for the purpose of recovery of the loan debts, then in that case, they will be deemed the purchase price minus 5% per quarter. Okay. So I'm not going into the further detailing. In case of the pure agent, rule 33 says if all the condition of pure agent is satisfied, amount incurred in the capacity of the pure agent will be excluded in the value, right? And same rule 34, in case of which rate of exchange will be applied. If it is goods, then we will apply the rate which has been notified by the board, that is CBIC, custom. And if it is service, then the rate which we are applying for accounting purpose, normally we are using the RBI rate, then that rate will be applied. Rule 35 says if there is a value inclusive of tax, then how you will calculate the taxable value? So you all know the backward method of calculation. So there's a 15,000 which is inclusive of tax. Let's say tax rate is 18%. How you will calculate the value? 15,000 multiplied by 100 divided by 180. Correct? So this is the formula is given in the rule 35. Okay. So I would suggest rest of the part you cover, but most of the provisions which we have discussed. Let's take a small break of 7-10 minutes. And then we will resume to the last chapter, that is valuation. That is exemption, sorry. Fine. Exemption start करेंगे after the break. Sir. within the time frame. So I am going in the last part of this chapter, which is concise, I can say summarized way. See, the government has in section 11, government has the power to exempt by notification, generally either absolutely or subject to certain conditions, or goods and service of any specified description, or by way of special order as well. If the government is satisfied, 11A, power not to be recovered GST, not levied. A generally prevailing practice exists regarding non-levy, short levy of tax or any supply of the goods, and the supply were actually liable to tax or higher rate of the tax, but tax was not levied or short levied. Government may issue the notification stating that the full or differential amount would otherwise be payable shall not be recovered from such supply. So you have seen multiple times government have saying that tax rate is 18%, but whomsoever has been paid 5% till now, that is okay. We will not recover. So they have issued the power. They have taken the power in the law. Now I am talking about list of the services exempted in GST. First is service related to the charitable and religious organization. Charitable activity by an entity registered under 12AA or 12AB of income tax. Service by a person by way of the conducting of religious ceremony. Renting of the person in of a religious place meant for general public, owned or managed by the institution, trust of the Income Tax Act covered under these sections, except where the renting is more than 1,000 rupees per day. Charges for renting of the premises, community halls, etc. are 10,000 per day, more than or equal to 10,000, or charges for renting of the shop is more than equal to 10,000 per month. Service by way of by a specified organization in the respect of religious pilgrimage, Hajj, Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, etc. That is also exempted. Training or coaching in recreation activity relating to art, culture by an individual or sports by the charitable entity are exempted. Agriculture related services, loading, unloading, packing, storage or warehousing of rice. This is exempted. Warehousing of the minor forest, service by way of any storage, warehouse of the cereal, pulse, fruits, vegetable. Artificial insemination of the livestock, carrying out of an intermediate production process as job work in relation to the cultivation of the plant, rearing of animal for food, fiber, fuel, raw material or other similar product and similar agriculture produce. उसके बाद क्या है exemption? Service relating to the cultivation of the plant, renting of rearing of animals for food, fiber, fuel, raw material by way of agriculture operation directly used in the production, supply the farm labor, process carried out at an agriculture farms which do not alter the essential character of agriculture produce but make only marketable for the primary market. Renting or leasing of the agro machinery, loading, unloading, package, storing of warehouse of agriculture produce, agriculture extension service, service by way of the APMC. ठीक है, एजुकेशन सर्विस. अब एजुकेशन में ऑलवेज रिमेंबर व्हाट इज टू एंड व्हाट इज बाय. कभी इंस्टीट्यूट को इनवर्ट सप्लाई पे भी एग्जेम्पशन है. सी नॉर्मली इफ दिस एग्जेम्पशन इज नॉट देयर, सी समथिंग sometime what happen if I am outsider and providing to the education institute, will all this service, all the supply would be exempted? Answer is no. So what are exempted? Service provided by, so first they are saying which all services provided by education institutes fall under exemption. Student, faculty and staff by way of conduct of entrance examination against consideration in the form of entrance fees. Sir, अब now this is important. They are saying that service provided to education institute is also exempted. So it is inward supply, transportation, catering including midday meal, sponsored by the central government, state government, union territory, security, cleaning, housekeeping. These exemptions are only applicable to an institute providing the service by way of pre-education and education up to higher secondary or equivalent. Service relating to the admission or conduct of examination, supply of the online education journal. This exemption is only applicable to the institute providing by way of the education as a part of curriculum for obtaining the qualification recognized by the law. Service of affiliation provided by central government, state board, council, or any other similar body by whatever name called. Now, doctors service. Whether healthcare service are exempted if the healthcare service by the clinic establishment, authorized medical practitioner or paramedicals. However, nothing in this entry shall apply. Say, do you know what is the meaning of this particular line? What is the meaning of this particular line? You will find multiple places. Nothing contained in this entry shall apply to. What is the meaning of this entry only? I have asked, it might be in the regular classes as well. What is the meaning of this word? Nothing contained in this entry shall apply. It means the above exemption, above exemption will not apply in this category. It means if here we are talking about exemption, so then in that case, here we will talk about taxability. We all know that if the room rent is more than 5,000 per day, in that case, that particular room rent is taxable. Transportation of the patient in an ambulance by any person other than specified above, service by a veterinary clinic in relation to the healthcare of animal or bird is also exempted. Service provided by the government is a long list. Now, you are well aware about the pattern of exams. Key, they are giving the big question, the ITC calculation, etc., in which they were add the exemption. There is no solution other than just doing the practice again and again. That is the only solution, frankly saying. Service by the government authority by way of any activity in relation to the function given to the panchayat municipality under the Indian Constitution. Service by Department of Post, service by the central government, local authority, excluding the following service. So excluding the following service means this service will be taxable. So here they are saying specified services. So departmental of post is a taxable service. Aircraft, vessel, person to the inside or outside the person of port, transportation, goods or passenger, or any service other than specified service provided to the business entity. Service by way of the department of post, kitna less than 10 gram, envelope having the weight less than 10 gram, that is exempted. Renting of immovable property, it is taxable, but it is taxable under RCM. Service provided to the business entity. See, now try to understand. Service provided to the business entity by the central government, state government, local authority, union territory. Which service? To whom? Which entity? The entity who is having the turnover in the preceding financial year, which make it eligible for exemption. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? If I am business entity and I am taking the service from government, then that service itself would be exempted. But this exemption will not be applicable. It means if like that business entity who are not required to be registered but taking the postal service, that will be taxable under forward charge. Renting of immovable property service, that will also be taxable under forward or under RCM. That we know the condition, we have already covered. One government is providing the service to the another government, but again this exemption will not be applicable to the specified services. ठीक है. If consideration is up to 5,000, service itself would be exempted, but again, it is not applicable to the specified service. Continuous supply the service. If it is not exceed 5,000, exemptions. If it is in form of grant, then exemptions. If it is in running of the old age home run by the government, under section this income tax act charitable wala, aged more than 60 or equal to 60 against up to rupees 25,000 per month per member, exemptions. Service provided by the Ministry of Railway to an individual by way of the platform ticket, facility of renting room or retiring room or waiting room, cloakroom services, and battery operated car services. Provided by one zone or division under the Ministry of Railway to the another zone or division under the Ministry of Railway. It will not be taxable. So, service provided by SPV to Ministry of Railway by way of allowing it to use infrastructure built and owned by them during the concession period against the consideration and services of maintenance supplied by Ministry of Railway to SPB in relation to said infrastructure and owned by SPB during the concession period. Service supplied by the central government, state government, union territory to their undertaking or PSU by guaranteeing the loan. See, point to be remembered, if the central government, state government, union territory giving the guarantee, then in that case, that guarantee is exempted. Why I am giving the focus on this point? Because otherwise normal guarantee like corporate guarantee, it is not given exemption because exemption is limited to the corporate guarantee given by the central government, state government for their undertaking. Okay. Service provided by central government, state government by way of the registration required under any law for the timing in force. Yes, this would be very, very detailed. Why detailed? I'm saying so because sometime, let's say there is a registration fees in the ROC. Okay, there is a registration fees in the ROC, and whereby there is a registration fees for the ROC. Let's say change in the director, increase in the authorized signatory. Do we need to say that it is a registration required under any law? Therefore, the service itself would be exempted, or it is a service provided by the government. It is a service provided by the government on which RCM is applicable. That is big point of litigation, I would say. Okay. Then testing, calibration, safety check or certification relating to the protection or safety of the worker. See, this is very, very clear that it is exempted. Fire license हुआ या public at large के लिए कोई safety protection worker के लिए कोई certification हुआ, then it would be exempt. Passport, visa, license, birth certificate, etc. Then it is exempted. Service provided by way of the tolerating non-performance of a contract for which consideration in the form of fines or liquidated damage is payable under such contract, then the service would be exempted. But again, I can say whether liquidated per se is taxable or not, for which you need to read the circular 178, of which we have slight discussion in the supply revision in the chapter of supply, correct? Service by way of assignment of right to use natural resources to an individual farmer, then it is exempted. Otherwise, whatever the royalty they are charging for assigning the right, etc., that is taxable under RCM. Service provided by the central government, state government by way of the deputing officer after office hour or on holiday for inspection, container stuffing, or any other duty in respect of import-export cargo on payment of merchant overtime charges. Provided by the state government to excess royalty collection contractor. So that is also one very nice concept. What they are saying now what happened? The state government are not collecting royalty from individual contractor. See, there is a mining right, okay, which let's say Rajasthan state has given to multiple contractor. Now they will have to pay the royalty. Suppose they are not paying the royalty, then government would be in the loss. Collecting the royalty is also big task. So what happened? Now they are also giving that tender to some person who will collect the royalty and paid the same to the Rajasthan government. That they are saying service supplied by the state government to excess royalty collection contractor by way of assigning the right to collect the royalty on behalf of the state government on the mining dispatched by the mining leaseholder. So then that would be exempted, subject to the condition, if any conditions are there. Rehabilitation professional recognized under the RCI Act by way of rehabilitation, therapy, or counseling and such other activity as covered by the said act at the medical establishment, etc. Construction service, pure labor contract of construction, erection, commissioning, installation, fitting out, repair, maintenance, revocation, or any other original work pertaining to the beneficiary led individual house constructed under the housing for all mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. अगर वो pure labor contract है, it would be exempted. Service supplied by the electricity distribution utility by way of construction, erection, commissioning, etc. for agriculture use up to the tube well of the farmer, then that would be exempted. Pure labor contract of construction, erection, commissioning or installation of original work pertaining to single residential unit. हाँ, यहाँ पर क्या single residential unit? Multiple time I have seen the question in the exam regarding this. They are not using the word single, multiple residential villa. There are multiple residential unit. In that case, the pure labor contract would also become taxable. Otherwise, then as a part of the residential complex. Supply of the TDR. अब यहाँ पे भी TDR और FSI long term lease to landowner to the developer are exempted subject to the condition that constructed flat. See, assume that you are a builder, you are into the developing. ठीक है. So Mr. A is the owner of land. He has given the land to you. ठीक है. In the form of long term lease of more than 30 years or JDA, Joint Development Agreement, FSI, etc. There are three forms. They give the transfer of the development right. They will give the floor space index, FSI, or they will give you the land on long term lease for more than 30 years. In that case, this is taxable under reverse charge. Now this TDR would be exempted. When it will be exempted? If you sell the property. If you sell the property before construction. Now tell me, if it is you have constructed the property before occupancy certificate you are selling, will that flat be taxable or exempted or out of GST? Not exempted. If you are selling the constructed flats before CC, then will it be taxable or will it be out of GST? The answer is out of GST. No, out of GST would be only when it is sold after CC. If it is sold before CC, then you need to pay the GST. If you are paying the GST on the flat, then you are not required to pay the GST on RCM on the TDR. So when the TDR is taxable, if you sold the flat after CC. Exemption of TDR, FSI long-term lease shall be withdrawn in case of the flat sold after CC, but such withdrawal shall be limited to 1% of the value in case of the affordable and 5% value in case of non-affordable. Service of transport of the passenger with or without accompanying the belongings. Again, I can say that this is a favorite question of exams. That they will give the name of the state, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland. Air in economy class, they will change the word and use the term business class. This is again important entry from exam point of view. Embarking from or terminating to. Embarking मतलब starting हो या चाहे ending हो. कौन से स्टेट? अरुणाचल, आसाम, मणिपुर, मेघालय, मिजोरम, नागालैंड, सिक्किम, त्रिपुरा और बगडोरा. Located in West Bengal. Bagdodra is West Bengal. So complete West Bengal is not exempted. Only Bagdodra. Non-air conditioned contract carries other than radio taxi for transportation of passenger, excluding tourism, conducted tour, charter or hire. ठीक है. State carries other than air condition. However, nothing contained in this entry shall apply to service supplied through ECU and notified under section 95. Why? क्योंकि यहाँ पर टैक्स 95 वाले ECU को देना है, like Ola, Uber. Correct? These company will pay the tax. So therefore, the above radio taxi services, if it is rendered through ECU, then it is always taxable. Such services provided to central government by air, embarking from or terminating at RCS, Regional Connectivity Scheme Airport, against consideration in the form of the viability gap funding. This exemption shall apply only first 3 years from the date of the commencement of operation, as notified by the Ministry of Civil Aviation. So to just ensure that they get the funding, and because they are not highly operated airports. Such services provided by the railway in the class other than first class, air condition, metro, monorail, tramway, inland waterways, public transport other than predominantly for tourism, metered cab or auto rickshaw, including e-rickshaw. However, nothing contained again if it is through 95. GTA. Again, I can say this is very important entry. Why very important entry? I think last exam only I have seen such type of entry. So they are saying that one supplier of goods, okay, he has one truck. He has given the truck to his customer and let's say charging 4,000 rupees. Okay. He has not issued the consignment note. So if consignment note is not issued, then what does it means? अगर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सर्विस दी है बट कंसाइनमेंट नोट इश्यू नहीं किया, then what does it means? It means that it is not the GTA. It is not the GTA. So road transportation service are taxable only in two cases: if the service is being rendered by the GTA or it is by courier company. If it is other than courier company, other than GTA, then service itself would be exempted. So again, you can see that this type of entry will come in the exams. And I would always say, make the comparison with the section 15, subsection 2, clause C. Why I am saying so? You tell me, let's say I'm a supplier, okay, of goods. Okay. I have sold the goods of rupees 1 lakh rupees, worth of rupees 1 lakh. Okay. I am collecting 5,000 as transportation of goods. And I am not issuing consignment note. No consignment note. Then will I charge the GST on 5,000 or not? I am collecting you 1 lakh 5,000. Will I charge the GST on 5,000 or not? Then your answer depends upon the fact that even though you are not issuing the consignment note, so you are not the GTA. That is fully agree. But are you providing the transportation services? Probably the fact of the question, when you read, then you will come to know that fact of the case that I am not the transporter, I have just arranged. In that case, whatever the amount which I am collecting from my customer will be added in the value according to 15(2)(c). And very absolutely correct, Geeta. It is like a composite supply and it will be taxable at the same rate which you are charging on the goods. So you have the question in exam, a very typical question may come like doing the comparison versus 15(2)(c). Even though it is not taxable, but might be, it could be taxable because of the GTA. It could be taxable because of the concept of composite supply. So make the clear reading of the fact by inland waterways. Then again, earlier there was a concept of exemption of 750 rupees or 1,500 rupees that has been omitted. So now the goods, transportation goods by rail, by vessel, or by GTA for agriculture produce by milk, salt, food grain, organic manure, newspaper, defense, military equipment, relief material, etc. are exempted in the GST. Service provided by the GTA, again, very important. So there is a 7 specified recipient. You remember that when I talked about GTA, we talked about 7 specified categories of the recipient. So in that case, if the recipient has 7 specified category, they will pay the tax under RCM. Suppose if the recipient is out of the 7 specified category, then what will happen? The answer is service itself would be exempted. If it is not a factory, not a society, not a cooperative society, body corporate, partnership from registered casual taxable person. If they are not fall in this category, then service provided by the GT to the unregistered person itself would be exempted. See, GTA entries is very important from RCM point of view as well as from exemption point of view. They will 100% test if the GTA provides the service to the Section 51 entities. So remember, yesterday we have discussed in the RCM entry. So if the GTA service provided to the Section 51, then there will be no RCM. You remember the Section 51 means central government or state government or local authority was registered only for the purpose of TDS. Okay. So there will be no RCM. Then question come, will it be FCM or will it be exempted? The answer is because of this entry, service itself would be exempted. Correct. Very, very nice. Service itself would be exempted. Then banking company, financial institution, interest, correct. Extending the deposit, loan, advances insofar consideration related to the interest or discount. And interest is sale or purchase of the foreign currency among the bank, among inter transactions, bank, financial institutions. So then it would be exempted. Service provided by the banking company to the basic saving bank deposit account holder under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and service by the acquiring bank to any person in relation to settlement up to rupees 2,000 in a single transaction through credit card, debit card, or any other payment. Any other payment card services. Service by the intermediary of the financial service located in the multi-services SEZ with IFSC status to a customer located outside India. So that would be exempted. Life insurance business service of the by way of the annuity under the National Pension System by Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority under PFRDA, or Army, Naval, Air Force services to the member of the Army, Naval, Air Force respectively. Exempted service of life insurance are exempted. So you can read. Services under following schemes: Pradhan Mantri, Jan Sri Bima Yojana, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, life micro insurance product as approved by the insurance IRDA having maximum amount of 2 lakh. वरिष्ठ पेंशन बीमा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री जीवन ज्योति, these are exempted. उसके बाद में जनरल इंश्योरेंस बिजनेस service following scheme. In this scheme, if the service has been given, that would be exempted. This is category number B. Category number C, service provided to central government under any insurance scheme for which premium is paid by the government. C. Now ABC, service by way of reinsurance of the insurance scheme provided in ABC, that would also be exempted. Service of insurance provided by the motor vehicle accident fund against the contribution made by the insurer out of the premium collected for third party insurance, that would be exempted. Now ESI corporation to person governed by the ESI, EPFO to the person governed by the service by the CMFPO, these are exempted. Pension scheme are exempted. Business facilitator or business correspondent. Then again, I have seen the question. Service by the following person in the respective capacity: business facilitator or correspondent to the banking company with respect to the account in the rural area. Now they might change the word rural. Then check that exemption is on the rural only. Any person as an intermediary to the business facilitator or correspondent with respect to the service mentioned in the entry number A, business facilitator or correspondent to the any insurance company in the rural area. Service provided to the government. Following service provided to the government by way of activity in relation to the function, pure service or composite supply, that would be, composites. Again, this entry is important. Either it is a pure service, it would be entirely exempted. If it is a composite supply of the goods and service in which goods not more than 25%, then it would also be exempted. Service provided to the government by way of the water supply, public health, sanitation, solid waste management, these would also be exempted. Slum improvement upgradation. Again, these two entries are important, might come in exams. Take a service provided by the fair price shop to the government by way of the sale of the food grain, kerosene, sugar, edible oil, etc. under PDS, public distribution system. Okay. Service provided to central government under any insurance scheme for which total premium is paid by the central government. Service provided by to the central government under any training program for which 75% or more is expenditure incurred is borne by the central government, state government, or union territory. Upfront amount payable in respect of service by way of granting of long-term lease of 30 years or more of industrial plot for development of infrastructure for financial business provided by the state government, industrial development corporation, or undertaking or by other entity having 20% or more ownership. Legal service. Again, so you remember that legal service are covered under reverse charge also. You remember that service provided by the individual advocate or firm of advocate or that particular senior advocate. Then service would be taxable under RCM. And वहाँ पे recipient कौन है? That is business entity. So they are saying if the service has been provided by the arbitral tribunal or by partnership firm to the person who is not doing the business, service itself would be exempted. Doing the business, but aggregate turnover is so much that is not required to register. So it is unregistered, then again it is exempted, or to government, then it would be exempted. Legal service provided to a partnership firm of advocate, individual advocate, other than senior advocate. So advocate provide to the advocate service, it would be exempted. Only point that you remember, provider should not be senior advocate. Now, sponsorship of a sports event, again, it would be exempted. Sponsorship of a sports event like National Sports Federation, affiliation service, etc. Like DEF, Paralympic, Central Civil, Cultural and Sports as a part of the national game, Indian Olympic Association under Panchayat Yuva Krida or Khela Abhiyan scheme. Skill development. Now they have newly added this NSDC. So you may, it is very important that any service provided by a training partner approved by NSDC, then it would be exempted. National Skill Development जो certification होता है ना. So the service provided by NSDC set up under the Government of India, the National Council for Vocational Education and Training, awarding body recognized by the NCVET, and assessment agency recognized by the NCVET, training body ascertained by the awarding body, and training partner approved. In relation to the National Skill Development Program or any other scheme implemented by NSDC, a vocational skill development course under the NSDC and monetary award scheme, these are the courses. Assessing body impaneled centrally by the DGT, Ministry of Skill Development, by way of assessment under the SDI scheme. Performance by an artist up to ₹1 lakh. This would be कौन-कौन से exemption है? By way of the performance in the folk or classical art form of the music. Again, these words are very important. So they will tweak with the word and then they will ask the question. They will keep the same amount. Amount is not more than 150 lakh. Okay. They will ask that performance is in folk or classical. If the consideration charge is not more than the exemptions are not applied to the brand ambassador. So they might ask the question on the brand ambassador. Right to admission of the various event. So service by way of the admission to the etc. Then it will be exempted. Then service by an unincorporated body or a non-profit entity registered under any law for the timing in force. Then as a trade union, then or for providing exempted activity. Then up to 7,500 per member, so that we know that there is a concept of senior advocate, correct. There is a concept of welfare association. If the total fees is not exceeding 7,500 per month per member, then it would. And again, in this calculation, if you go into the deeper, then you will find the electricity would not be included. For example, if I'm a residential welfare association and I'm collecting 8,000 from you, 7,000 toward the monthly maintenance and 1,000 toward the electricity. Will it be taxable? Answer is no, because in the calculation of 7500, the amount of electricity will not be included. So it means I will exclude. Will it be taxable? Then you need to see the concept of pure agent. If it is on actual basis, I have taken on actual basis, then no problem. It is not taxable. If it is not on actual basis, then it is taxable. Service provided by the entity, by such entity or body engaged in the activity relating to the welfare of industry, agriculture, labor, promotion of the trade, commerce, etc., to its own member against membership fees up to 1,000 rupees. Then it is not taxable. Other exempt service, transfer of the going concern. Now, electricity is exempted. Absolutely. Electricity. No, 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 Geeta, that could not be the reason. Could be the reason, could not be the reason. No. Mainly point is it is being collected on pure agent capacity, then I can say. That is also one more reason. See, if they are providing through generator, then it is not electricity. Correct. So there is multiple point which I like to say, read in detail entry, then it is taxable. Correct. If it is more than that, then it is taxable. If it is not in the pure agent capacity. Transfer of the going concern. If I will transfer the entire business as a going concern, then my entire the transaction would be exempted. Transit cargo to the Nepal or Bhutan, landlocked country. You know what is the concept of landlocked country? Do you know the concept of landlocked country? Just ask it. क्योंकि ये multiple time आता है. When you read the EV bill chapter also, then the concept came transit cargo. होता क्या landlocked country? See, India, Pakistan, let's say Afghanistan, let's say Nepal, let's say Bhutan. They are attached to the land, correct? The movement can happen through land also. Am I right? Can you do the movement through road to the USA? No. To the UK? No. We have to use the air or by water. We cannot go by the land. So landlocked country means the countries which are connected through land, and they can. What is the meaning of the transit cargo? Now, what is the meaning of transit cargo? So let's say goods is coming from Nepal and going to Afghanistan, or goods is coming from Pakistan going to Bhutan. If the Nepal and Bhutan are being connected, then service is exempted even as a transit cargo. India is being used as a transit cargo. Now the service has not been rendered by India, but India. So I'm talking about e-way bill point of view concept also. I'm mixing the e-way bill concept as well. So when you see the e-way bill exemption in the rule 138 sub rule 14, you will find the same concept of transit cargo over there as well. Okay. Same, then service by way of the renting of the residential dwelling for residents, except for renting to a registered person, it would be exempt. Correct. All state are landlocked state. Explanation 1, that this exemption will not be applicable, will be applicable even to the proprietor if the proprietor taking that residential dwelling for its own personal capacity, not of the proprietor or partnership. And nothing contained in this sentence shall apply. Explanation 2 का मतलब क्या हुआ कि ये ऊपर वाला exemption will not be applicable if accommodation service given to the student in the student residence, accommodation service provided by the hostel. So why it is not? They have covered the separate supply the accommodation service having value the supply less than or equal to 20,000 per person per month for a minimum continuous period of 90 days. Satellite launch service is exempted. Service by way of the transportation of goods by an aircraft from a place outside India up to the custom station in India. Okay. Then service by way of giving on hire to the state undertaking transport local authority to a GTA. That is also very, very important. If I have the only truck, let's say I have the truck and I am giving the truck to the GTA for renting purpose. I'm giving the truck to the GTA for renting. Will that be taxable under forward charge? Will it be taxable under reverse charge? No, it would be exempted. Important is renting of that truck is given to the GTA, then it would be exempted. Okay. Motor vehicle for transportation of student, faculty, staff to the person providing service of transportation of student, staff to the education institute. We have already discussed. Service by way of access to the road on toll charges, that is exempted. Electricity. by the electricity transmission or distribution company, then Geeta, it is exempted. Let's say it is by welfare association through generator, then it not fall under the exemption. Supply the service by way of the providing metering equipment or rent or testing of meters, etc., then it would be exempted. Service provided by incubity up to the total turnover 50 lakh in the financial year. Total turnover had not exceeded 50 lakh during the preceding financial year and the period of 3 years has not elapsed. Then R&D service against consideration in the form of the grant provided by a government entity or research association, university, college, or other institution as per section 35, then it would be exempted. Taxable service provided by a technology business competitor or science and technology entrepreneur recognized by this, it would be exempted. I think now you can read. Let's last 5 minutes. Let me see. Last 5 minutes. Let me revise some of the points. Last normally I do this way. So tell me if payment entry and so first question, advance received for supply of the goods is taxable in two cases. When it will be two cases? Any example, one or two? Advance for the supplied goods is taxable at the time of advance if, give me the answer. If it is an right, Samyanathan bilkul correct, Geeta bilkul correct. And now, in case of RCM, whether advance is taxable or not for goods? Correct. What is the time limit to make the invoice in case of self-invoice? Geeta, it is taxable in case of RCM. RCM advance taxable है, ध्यान रखिएगा. What is the time limit to make the invoice in case of self-invoice? $30 from date of the receipt of the goods or services. 30 days from the date of the receipt of the goods or services. So I'm talking about self invoice. No, Samyanathan, that time you are talking about service. I'm not talking about service. I'm not talking about the forward charge. I'm talking about a self invoice in case of RCM. What is the time limit? Quickly tell me which provision has been omitted from the time of supply chapter. Which provision has been omitted from the time of supply chapter by the Finance Act 25? The answer is voucher. Correct. Now, next question. In case of the value of the supply, normally the transaction value is considered as taxable value if two conditions are satisfied. What are the two conditions? If the recipient is not related and the price is the sole consideration. 5 things to be added in the value. Can you tell me what are the 5 things to be added in the value? Coming in just half a minute. Just give me the answer. 5 things to be added in the value. What are the 5 things? क्या बात है, very nice. Very nice. Taxes, duties, correct. And then you have covered everything, Samanathan. Very nice. Okay. See which transaction is attracting the time of supply on receipt basis instead of accrual basis. Which type of the time of supply will attract the time of supply on receipt basis, not on actual basis, not on accrual basis? वो कौन सा ट्रांजेक्शन है जिसमें टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ट्रिगर करती है ऑन ओनली ऑन रिसिट बेसिस। करेक्ट करेक्ट। इंटरेस्ट, पेनल्टी, लेट फीस on account of the delayed payment of any consideration. If GTA provides the service to other than 7 specified categories of the recipient, then whether the transaction would be taxable or exempted? Other than 7 specified categories, then it is unregistered person, transaction per se is exempted. Transaction is exempted. Correct, correct, correct. If truck has been given on hire to whom, then it would be exempted. If truck has been given to whom, then the transaction would be exempted to GTA. So if the GTA provides the service to the section 51 categories of the recipient, then what would be your answer? Taxable under forward, taxable under reverse, or exempted? GTA provides the service to the government who is registered only for the purpose of TDS. Then what would be your answer? Forward charge, exempted, or RCM? Answer is exempted. Exempted. Why no RCM? Because in the entry we have discussed yesterday in the last class. And why exempted? Because just now we have discussed. So by this, I have done with the today class. Now the next class will be taken by another faculties. I will come again in the import export refund chapter. Okay. So thank you so much. From my side, it's over. Sir. Thank you.